Hey guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. Today's episode is all about the top 3 reasons why you should not become a medical coder. If you're brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue, I'm a medical coder. Now I know I heard a lot of you just right now say what, say who? Blue said not to be a medical coder? Here's the thing, disclaimer first, all right? This is just to give you guys an idea of some of the things that you may think are so glamorous and great about being a medical coder, or some of the things you may have heard, and that's the reason why you want to get into it. Well, I'm going to tell you the truth on those types of things, right? The top 3 things, okay? Because I want you guys to be prepared when you're going out there. Now, I will encourage anybody to get into medical coding if they feel that that is the right calling for them. Here's the thing. With medical coding, there's so many facets to it. So the person who fits into this type of profession is somebody who likes to study. So that is going to be part of the first one, which is you think it's easy. Somebody may have told you, oh yeah, medical coding is real easy. You're just pushing through the codes, and the doctors, they already select their own code. So you just have to put through what the doctor is saying and the codes that they're selecting, and you got a really good job for that. That's not true. A lot of times when the doctors are selecting the codes, 9 times out of 10, they are wrong, right? Or at least I should say 8 times out of 10, they are wrong, because you do have some providers out there who know and understand medical coding, okay? But not all of them. And so for this reason, it is on us. We have this responsibility as medical coders to read, interpret, and understand the documentation, then translate that into codes for statistical purposes or for the insurance company, okay? So that's the thing, guys. It's not easy. We have to learn a lot of things. And the amount of things that we have to learn takes years. It is not going to take you months to learn. It's not going to even be covered in weeks, which is why some of these fast-paced boot camp type medical coding programs are so scary, because it's a lot of information that you have to cram into a very short amount of time, and this can overwhelm people. And if they were sold this product of, oh yeah, it's easy and you'll be able to do this, you work with an encoder and it'll give you all the codes, you don't have to mess with the books. Some places, they still require you to use the books. Okay, it really all depends. Not every place is outfitted with encoders. So because of that, you have to be prepared. But if you're coming from a school, or you've been self-studying and you've been working with the books, that's all you know, it's going to be easy for you to transition. That I will say, okay? Because I did that on my first job. I was hired on with a temporary agency, and they set me up with my first assignment, which was a 3-month assignment at the Cancer Therapy Research Center. And so we were working on the backlog. Well, we were given a table to work at, and here, use your books, and away you go. And that's what I did. That was my first assignment. So for 3 months, I used my book. And to me, it wasn't scary because I didn't know any better, right? Until now, when I use the encoder. I am getting back into using the book, but that's a different story. But getting back to this, guys, it's not easy. I will tell you that, and I'm not even going to sugarcoat it for you. It takes hard work. It takes a lot of tears. It takes a lot of hours. It takes a lot of sacrifice. It is sacrifice to get into this field. It takes a lot of sacrifice. One, to get through the program or the self-study. That's the first one. And then you got to be able to pass your certification exam, whether you're taking a certification exam with AHIMA or AAPC. And then you have to get out and find your first job. And, finding those first jobs is another part that's not easy. That's the part that gets a lot of people, and it will stop a lot of people because they get so discouraged. And some people get discouraged after being told no 2 or 3 times. Some people are out there putting in the applications and putting out their resumes, but is the resume conducive to what they're asking for? Is it reflecting? There we go. Is it reflecting what that employer wants or needs? Do any of the skills that you have from your previous employers can they translate over? Did you work with money? Did you work with cash register? Did you work with checks and making deposits and things like that? That you can say if you're applying for a medical billing position, because medical billers don't have to be certified. And if you go in there with your medical coding certification, well, then you look really good because you understand the reasons that an insurance company would be denying a claim. So that is something that you've got to be able to highlight on your resume. Guys, resumes are so, so, so important. But that's the first one. The next one, you want to work from home right away. Now, the thing with the pandemic and everything else that's gone on, right? Yes, last year when the pandemic kicked off, a lot of brand new medical coders had that fear of like, you know, if you are working at home, you typically had to have had 3 to 5 years of experience. That has been the way that it has been for eons, right? When the pandemic kicked off, they were willing to accept brand new medical coders that were just certified, some CPCAs, okay? Because a lot of my audience that was writing me, they have their CPCAs. I have, majority of my audience is AAPC, so, you know, it really all depends, you know, but they were able to get jobs and they were able to get themselves out there and apply and still be able to get a job, and they started working at home. A lot of them are still working at home because for some facilities, they haven't transitioned back. Some are going to a hybrid schedule, which is some days in the office and some days at home. So it really, wherever you're applying, it really all depends. But if your sole focus of getting into medical coding is just so that you can work at home right away, I will tell you now so that you're not surprised later that it may be difficult for you. Because again, they want you to be at the facility so that you can get training. And when you are a brand new medical coder, here's another news flash. Book coding and real world coding are two different things. The book is going to give you very textbook. It's going to give you, it's going to give the crystal clear ways of putting things and a lot of really good detail. Real world is going to be different and based on the provider and their attitude and their mood. Now, sometimes providers, if they're getting a lot of queries from the coders, they don't understand, they're going to completely shut down. So it does take you actually being in the facility to kind of work with them, because it's very easy to ignore somebody who's emailing you rather than somebody who's actually in the facility and you see them on a daily basis. When they start to see you, it makes it a little bit more difficult for them to ignore you. And so it's a little bit easier when you're able to talk to them, because a lot of times providers do not like email. They hate email. And I have been part of this, right? Because I would send my provider, I have he no longer works in my facility, but I had one provider in particular who did not tell me he did not like emails. And we happened to work in the clinic. I was in the clinic next door, but we weren't always like that. We had moved into this new hospital, so we were embedded in the clinic, but for the longest time we were housed away, and so it was easier for him to ignore whenever there was a query. I rarely had to query him because his documentation was really good, but he wanted more of that one-on-one conversation, and the only way that we were able to do that was actually being in the clinic. So when we moved into the hospital, everything changed, and he told me, he's like, well, I said, well, I don't understand why you're saying that you want more attention. I've been asking you in emails, if you have any questions, let me know. That's why I don't query you, because there's nothing to query. And he goes, well, you know, Blue, I would really like you to make sure that there's nothing that I can improve on, because if I can improve, I need to know. And I said, well, why didn't you just email me back? He goes, I hate email. I was like, well, that explains a lot. So it really, for these providers and these employers want the coders to be on site a lot of times, okay? But they want them to be on site because that way they're able to be available for the providers. Now, sometimes no. Sometimes They've got one person that handles all the education and the coders just code. If that is the situation at your facility, then that is something completely different. But for those, again, that are just wanting to get into this because they want to immediately work at home right away, it's not going to be easy for you when you're looking at real world documentation and these providers are writing things that are very abstract, or or it's very not enough detail, or they're missing laterality, or something that they're missing. So again, being on site really does help when you're a brand new medical coder. And the other reason for that is sometimes when you're a brand new medical coder, it's difficult to formulate the question. I know because this happened to me. At my second position, when I was working as a pro-fee coder, right? Basically, the patient is staying in the hospital and an outpatient doctor, a specialty doctor, is coming in and visiting, and they have to get paid for their professional services. That's what I was doing. So the patient was inpatient, but I was following outpatient rules. So that was a challenge for a brand new medical coder. But there was times when I had a question and I literally could not formulate the question because I couldn't think. I knew what I wanted to say, but it was more of like, how do I phrase this in a way that my boss will understand? And my boss, who is now my friend, my very close friend, Jessica, and I would ask her, I was like, okay, I don't know how to word this. And she was like, okay, well, so what's the problem? And I said, okay. And she goes, well, just tell me what you know. And I said, okay. So I would explain to her what was happening. And then I would ask, and right before we get to the question, she knew what I was saying. So she would say, okay, here's where you find the answer. So we would go through the steps together, and I said, okay, now, now I get it, you know. But that was having somebody on hand. And I was so lucky, especially being so early in my development as a coder, to have somebody as skilled as she is, you know, to be able to walk me through those times. But you may not be that lucky if you're working at home right away, because then a lot of that is going to be over Messenger. Sometimes it may be over like Zoom or Microsoft Teams, and it's different from when you're face to face in person. So always give yourself the opportunity at least to start at a facility or at the doctor's office so that you can get some hands-on training and then try to transition home. But again, if your whole goal is to start at home right away, it is going to be a challenge, and it's an uphill battle for brand new medical coders when they are at home, even for seasoned veteran coders to start at home, because it's you're on your own essentially. But anyway, which brings me to my last point. You're doing it for the money. You're getting into medical coding because you want to make all this money that the schools or whoever else is selling you this product has said that you can make. The starting salary everywhere is different. Okay, it is different everywhere. I tell people this all the time because when I get this question, my channel is not for that, right? My channel is about the field of medical coding. And it's not about, well, you can make this and you can make that, because it's different everywhere. And I would never want to set somebody else up for like, oh, well, she said I could potentially make this. And so that's not what I do. But I want you guys to be aware when you're going to a school, right? And they're immediately trying to sell you medical coding based on, oh, do you know you can make all this money and you can make this money right away? That's a school that's selling a dream. Literally selling a dream. Do medical coders make good money? Of course. You can look anywhere and be able to find that out. As far as what they start at though, the starting salary is going to be different. Like I said, everywhere you go. And just because you start at that particular rate does not mean that you're going to stay at that particular rate. You can go up and it won't take very long, right? If you are in a place that is going to advance you at a timely rate. So again, it all depends on where you are. But please don't get into this because you think, oh, I'm going to make a lot of money. I'm going to try to find the easiest clinic to work in so that I don't have to work very hard. The thing about people who get into medical coding for money is this. This is somebody's medical record. When you select these codes and you submit this to the insurance company, the patient has to pay, or somebody has to pay, right? Whoever owns that insurance policy has to pay. Now, if you are not selecting the codes appropriately, or you're not taking your time and making sure that everything is documented like it's supposed to, and then the doctor gets paid all this money, and then, oh, by the way, the insurance company goes and does an audit, and all of a sudden, now we have fines because there was an overpayment, or there was an underpayment, or whatever the case may be, because the coder wasn't looking at the documentation and the codes closely enough to be able to catch these errors. So guys, that's the thing. When people try to get into this based on the money and they don't care and they just want to push things through, think about that's somebody's medical record. That could potentially be your medical record. That could potentially be somebody doing that to you, which is why I always tell people, if you want to get into this field, get into it because you want to do something that is intellectually stimulating, that is intellectually challenging, because that's what this is. That's what this field is, right? And you're working with these intelligent people. You are working with people who will never be like anybody that you will ever meet, okay? I have worked with some of the most intelligent people that I have ever met in my whole life. And they communicate differently, and they have taught me so much. And I feel incredibly blessed to be able to do this. And because I haven't worried about, oh, how much money am I going to make? I've always been able to do very well. So when you think about too much on the money side of the house, you're going to miss all this other stuff. So you want to make sure that you got your priorities right. And if you want to do that, because it's the money thing, you need to think about, this is what you're going to be investing for your career. This is how you want to spend your time, is being so focused on money. Well, what about what is actually going to make you happy? Because there's some people who look at medical coding like it's a job, and there's other people who look at medical coding as a passion. It's a passion for me. I don't even feel like I'm working anymore because of it. And so because of that, I can relax. I can relax because this profession takes care of me and I take care of it. And I look at it like this, for every person that I touch their medical record, I pay attention. I get details and I make sure that all of that is there before I close it out, before I send it on through. Everything is looked at. And I try my very best to stay on top of the latest and greatest, so that way my providers don't miss out on anything, and the patients who are being treated by my providers, they are all, their documentation is full and complete at all times. So it is multifaceted, this field. It will make you grow. It will make you cry. It will do a lot of things to you. But if you get into it, you can enjoy it. It is something that is enjoyable. But it's not for everyone. And I will say that, and not to discourage people, okay? I'm just saying, the message is going to get through to those who really need to hear this, right? It's not for everyone, but if you're looking at it for those reasons, that's why I am explaining all these things, because I want you guys to know that this is more than just that. It's more than its complexity. It's more than its location of where you can be at. It is more than the money that it can pay you. It is a lot more than that. So carefully consider this career field if you are looking into it. Check out my other videos. I have a lot of day in the life videos. Now, I don't do like where they're showing the actual screens or anything like that, because you can't. That is a violation. Even if they've blurred it out, I don't ever feel comfortable doing something like that. And I won't ever do something like that on my channel. So, but I want you guys to know that there is a lot to this field, and I have well over 600. I know I have over 600 videos by now. And I talk about this field, and I talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Because that's what you do. You know, you can't always enjoy everything about this career field, but what you do enjoy obviously can outshadow any bad day that you'll ever have. At least that's just my advice anyway. But thank you guys so much for joining me. If you haven't had a chance to subscribe already, I hope that you do. Take a look at my other videos. Hit that thumbs up button on the way out, and I will see y'all next time. Bye.